I would say LA is a shark tank. Everyone's in LA to hustle and make a name for themselves in the sports entertainment world. So if you're putting on something for sports entertainment, all the sharks are out. They want free tickets. They want to be on the red carpet. They want to be seen. So you have to fizzle out the good ones from the bad ones.
Yeah, get rid of the takers and find some quality people that want to help.
And there's way more takers than people who actually want to support you.
This is a nugget for young people who watch. Like, you gotta have something of a metric you measure yourself against and go after it. Definitely know what you want. Don't just chase a number. And if you know what you want, then you get back into it, right? If I want a $2 million home in this type of area, like I need to go make X, Y, and Z. First engineer that, but you need to have a metric. And then who else is in my age group or who else is doing what I'm doing at my level that I can, measure myself against? And I do that all the time. I don't sit there and watch every week the, activity list of what advisor is where, but don't get me wrong, every quarter I'm going like, hey, where am I at, right? I'm not to my goals, but how am I measuring against everybody else? Is the market bad? Am I being lazy? Am I not focused? Or are they way ahead? And I think that's something that makes you, a winner, a killer. So in the state of New Jersey, you had the primary yesterday.
Yep, I saw that.
The turnout was a joke. And I'm like, where are all these people who hate how the state has been run? You're in a primary. You have Jack Ciattarelli as a Republican guy who's lost twice. Nice guy. I'm on Team Jack now. I hope he wins versus this lady Mickey, whatever her name is. She's a worse progressive than Murphy. And you look at the voter turnout, like the top 2-3 Democrats outnumbered the Republican that won on the Republican side. But still, overall, the turnout was a disgrace. People really don't vote. In a mayor run, I can only imagine, right? I'm talking state level, just as the mayor.
So I ran last year for state senate. Now the guy I ran against, I ran because I'm big on term limit. This guy who's our state senator was elected in 1980, 20-something terms in office, like 76 or 70 years old.
Doesn't live in the state.
Can't even campaign because of his health. I'm like, wait a minute, there's no way people are gonna vote for this guy. So I'm gonna run. And I ran, obviously still lost because the area of state senate was New Haven and the most progressive part of the next town of Hamden. I'm like, this is crazy. People are still voting for this guy.
Jersey has the same situations.
When I announced I was running for mayor, it was a completely different energy. Nobody knows who the state senators are.
Dude, we all have the best time ever to start a small business.
If I'm not gonna be 100% in, I'm not gonna do it.
Come on, man, just be yourself.
Yeah,
and just show up as yourself.
If you don't realize what I'm really about, I'm about freedom, family, and my country.
Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Our good friend owner, Big O.
Big O.
Put us together. Shout out to the Tate brothers over there.
It's pretty good. Jersey Tates.
Good people matter. I love
agree.
Owner to death. He's
agree.
a great guy. He deals with me. I'm pretty crazy to deal with. And he said this guy Steven's a great guy. Loves politics.
Yep.
He's hustling, doing a bunch of different things. I think he's got a UFC company. I think he does this. I'm like, all right, he sounds like a good guy. Let's get it booked.
Yeah, I'm everywhere.
Born and raised in Newport, Rhode Island.
Correct.
Which is an awesome place for anybody who has not been to Newport, Rhode Island. You need to go. You are somebody who's done a lot in the MMA world.
Yep.
You've done a little bit of stuff in Wall Street.
Yep.
You've now getting into real estate a little bit, owned some gyms.
Yep.
So I don't even know what company to say for you because you have a couple different things going on.
Just call me serial entrepreneur.
Serial entrepreneur, which are my favorite. Also, dad.
Yes.
Husband, married 18 years.
Yep.
And what is your wife's name? Let's give her a shout out.
Janine.
Janine. Shout out to Janine.
I got lucky with that one.
She's special. For your viewers who are going to watch this podcast is all about turning around and helping the next girl or guy in line.
Yep.
So Steve's story is going to inspire somebody. They're going to see that and say, hey, I got a spider web on me. I walked a parallel path to that guy.
Yep.
If he could do it, I can do it. So I'm going to dive a little bit into your story.
Let's do
We're
it.
going to get some fun out of it and get to know who you are.
Let's do it.
So my first question, how did you meet Owner?
Man, I met Honor because of the guy Kyle Newell, who's big into fasting.
Oh, Panda Man.
Panda Man. Yeah. And I'm fasting is like a way of life for me. I eat one meal a day. I do a 3-day fast every single month. So I think Kyle kind of found me on Instagram. We should connect. He took the drive to New Haven. We worked out. We did a podcast. HasMedia came along. And it was a good time.
Awesome. So I want to rewind to your childhood for a minute.
Yeah.
So Give a little glimpse of Newport from your eyes.
Man, Newport's a place, I think it's, how do I say it? It's like anywhere in New England where in the summer, you're like, wow, this place is incredible. It's vibrant, it's beautiful. And then when Labor Day is over, it's a ghost town. And nothing happens at all. It's boring.
Yeah.
But I love Newport. That's where my heart will always be. So I went from Newport to, so long story short, my senior year in high school, we had a class called the American Experience class. And we played something called the stock market game. And we were in groups of like 4. And no one in my cohort wanted to do it, but I loved it. And I got second in the entire state of Rhode Island. I was like, oh man, this is what I want to do the rest of my life. I want to get into finance. I want to be a Wall Street guy. I watched Boiler Room and Wolf on Wall Street. I was like, I want to be those guys. And so I went to Pace University only because it was the closest college to Wall Street. It was like 4 blocks away. Majored in finance and marketing, and I fell in love with it until I was in the industry.
Yeah.
I didn't love it so much anymore.
What were you doing in Wall Street?
So I was a broker at my Series 7, got my Series 6, my Series, let me think about this.
63.
63, 65, because I was in Connecticut.
You were able to cross state lines.
Cross state lines. And when I was on Charles Schwab on the corner of Wall Street, William. I did my internship at Merrill Lynch. And I got recruited by a firm in Shelton, Connecticut called Barnum Financial Group. When I was there, I was like really in like, you were in the boiler room with just dick measuring contest every single day, you know? This wasn't my thing. But what was my thing was MMA, because I wrestled my whole entire life. It's all I cared about. When I would get out of work, it was going straight to, at the time, Ultimate MMA was my spot. And that was my passion.
How old were you when you started wrestling?
8.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wrestling's definitely like it's your life. Every wrestler I know that like did it, or it's like, it's their life, and they're all now successful at business too. They're all grinders.
There's no other sport, there's no participation trophies or safe spaces. Like it's one-on-one, you're accountable for everything. If you don't work hard, you get fucked up. And it teaches you most about life in general. And I always say I think every kid should wrestle. Not just boys, but girls too.
Yeah, I agree. Any individual sport, even
Anybody.
jiu-jitsu or karate or anything that's one-on-one and you're actually going at it.
Yeah. And with contact.
Yeah, real
No,
contact.
It's different because there's that fear of getting
hit.
hurt, getting knocked out, being embarrassed in front of your family and your friends. So every single time, it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it's a different thing you learn.
Oh my God, yeah. I love it. I miss it too. So now my son, who's 11, he wrestles obviously. And I'm more nervous for him than when I wrestle. I'm like, oh my God, how do I act right now? I don't want him to know I'm so nervous for him, but I'm like scared for him.
Yeah.
Because you know those feelings and what you have to go through.
Yeah.
And the worst part is when they lose, how do you react to them losing? Because kids at that age, between 6, 10, they lose, they don't understand they don't understand a loss. It's different when you lose in an individual sport like wrestling compared to a team sport. No one feels anything in a team sport. But if you go to a wrestling tournament, you'll see more kids crying than any other sport on the planet, even though they're tough as nails.
Yeah. Well, it's emotional, man. They put a lot of time, energy
So
into
emotional.
it. And then to go in and, have your heart broken.
Yep.
You're a competitor.
Yep.
If there's anything wrong with crying when you lose.
Yeah, because losing in a sport like wrestling is demoralizing.
Yeah.
I let everybody down. I got beat by another person. That's tough.
Yeah.
You know,
But you learn something from that.
you learn a lot from it. No, there's nothing else that can teach you that.
Yeah. It's grit,
It's great.
determination,
It's grind,
get back up,
determination.
build yourself back up.
Yep.
So what did you learn most from it?
From wrestling,
Yeah.
failure.
Yeah.
Because if you train hard all week, let's say high school, for example. I mean, you train hard all week. Yeah, wrestle a match, let's say you lose. You got to come back from that loss and do it again. It's like repeat, repeat, repeat. So that's why I say wrestling is the most accountable sport on the planet.
Yeah.
You learn to accept failure, embrace failure. And most people can't embrace failure. Most people are scared to lose in the first place.
Which
But
is
every legend says, you know, you learn from your losses. You don't learn from your wins. I never won a fight or a match and learned anything. But when I lost, you learn a lot. Here it's reflection. It's what could I have done better?
Yeah, absolutely. What if more liberals wrestled when they were younger?
We need less safe spaces and no participation trophies. Like wrestling, there's no participation trophies.
Yeah, we were at the field the other day, and my good buddy Trevor, who works with me, we went to watch his daughter's last soccer game, and the coach gets down on a knee and he gives them these participation trophies, and it's just every ounce of me hates it.
Me too.
You know, they're little kids, they're happy to get a trophy. You know, what am I, you know, the monster, you know,
Yeah.
but there's so much they're not learning, but like the person who gets the trophy is the winner.
Yeah.
And you gotta be super determined and super focused to get to that trophy. And it takes a lot of grit, a lot of hustle, and a lot of determination to go win that trophy. And that's like something somebody chases. And you saw on that field, there was only 2 girls that were real killers. And both of them found each other on the field, and they banged a little bit elbows. And I'm talking about 6-year-old girls playing soccer. But both of them were badasses. Both of them were super talented. And that girl probably has a dad and a mom saying, like, throw that trophy out. Like, this isn't what you want.
Yeah, that's me.
And people think that, oh, that's so cold, that's horrible. No, I don't think it is.
Yeah, but we should be living in a meritocracy. You got to earn everything. In the real world, you have to earn everything. There's no such thing as a participation trophy or a safe space. Maybe in the public sector there is, right?
Maybe.
But in the private sector, if you don't have, what's the word? If you don't have results, you get fired. You know? So same thing with sports.
Yeah, the more you do, the more you get.
Yep.
I know that makes people crazy, you know, being a capitalist, but you know, if I'm a guy in a firm and I'm doing really well, I'm going to get more marketing dollars.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a higher conversation table.
Yep.
I'm going to get a longer rolling 12. You know, there's certain things that are going to happen because I'm performing, but I'm working hard to get that performance to win those bonuses or those bogeys. And I think those are things, and this is a nugget for young people who watch, like, you got to have something of a metric you measure yourself against and go after it.
Always.
Definitely know what you want. Don't just chase a number, right? And if you know what you want, then you get back into it, right? If I want a $2 million home in this type of area, like I need to go make X, Y, and Z.
Reverse engineer.
Yeah, reverse engineer that, but you need to have a metric. And then who else is in my age group or who else is doing what I'm doing at my level that I can, you know, measure myself against?
Yeah.
And I do that all the time. I don't sit there and watch every week the, you know, activity list of what advisor is where, but don't get me wrong, every quarter I'm going like, hey, where am I at?
Yep.
Right? I'm not to my goals, but how am I measuring against everybody else? Is the market bad? Am I being lazy? Am I not focused? Or are they way ahead? And I think that's something that makes you, you know, a winner, a killer.
Yeah, always.
So your childhood real quick, how was it?
I had a good childhood. I don't want to complain. My parents got divorced when I was 12. My father moved when I was around. My father moved to Connecticut to take care of his parents. And my mother had to do 2 jobs. She went to college. She became my hero. My senior year in high school, she moved to Connecticut because she got into Yale for their PA program, which is a master's program. So then I stayed back. And I watched her struggle when I was in high school. And literally she became my hero. I think because of that, I feel like I became very independent because my sister was 2 years old. I was 12 at the time, 10-year gap. So my mom kind of had to let me go do my thing. But wrestling is what kept me always in line. Like I don't say my father was wrestling because I have a good relationship with my father too. But wrestling kept me straight edge.
Yeah.
Because I was always accountable. You can't fuck up.
Keep you focused.
You have to.
And why do you say your mom's your hero?
Because of how strong she was. Like literally, I talk about this to her all the time. When I was in high school, let's say my junior, senior year, and she was a junior. So she had her associate's degree. And when they got divorced, she went back to college to get her bachelor's degree. She went to Roger Williams in Rhode Island, in Bristol, not Bristol. Oh my God, what town is this? Well, Roger Williams University, long story short. And because she wanted to be a PA, she had a major in, I think, biology. So I remember her senior year, she would literally cry at the table with like organic chem and organic chem 1 and 2. And I would just sit there like, oh my God, like this is crazy. And she would never put it on us though. She'd never like make us feel bad for her. She just power through it. And to watch her go by herself, raise both of us, and then get into Yale at 40 years old or 41, whatever it was, to me is exceptional. Like she went after what she wanted. And I've always respected that because that's what you're supposed to do in life. And I feel like I was sacrificed a little bit because she had to take care of my 2-year-old sister, you know, at the time. And she had to move away to Connecticut during my senior year to fulfill that dream. And I love that about her.
Listen, again, that taught you grit, determination,
Yeah.
hustle.
Yep.
And I'm sure that motivates you to go, hey, I never want to be in that position that
Yeah.
I don't have all the means to go do whatever I want to do with my
Yep.
family and for myself.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great story.
And she's very passion driven.
What does she do now?
What's that?
What does she do now?
So she's in So when I moved to California in 2009, my sister, who went to LaSalle College in Boston, she followed me 2 years later.
Got it.
She came to visit. She loved San Diego. She said, oh my God, I want to come here. So she moved. And then within 2 years after that, my mom who was
followed.
coming to visit all the time, she was like, I'm coming too. So she moved to California as well. And now she works in the Moores Cancer Center in San Diego at UCSD.
Awesome.
Yep.
And now you came back. We're getting ahead of the story,
I
though.
know, and then I came back. You know what the problem is family is so important.
Yeah.
And we move across country and we have no family. Like my wife's old school Italian where you move out of the house, you move across the street. You don't move across the country.
Yeah, 3 doors down.
3 doors down.
And if you don't show up for a kid's birthday party, you're out.
You're out. So when we were in California, every single vacation was going back to Connecticut to visit family. So we always flirted with the idea of moving back. And once my son was 5, we said, if we're gonna do it, let's do it now, kindergarten. If we don't love it, we'll move back to California. So we moved back in 2019 and we're still there. I'm like a 50-50 because California is by far Southern California is by far the most beautiful place in this country. Mm-hmm. The worst run place in this country, California, but I miss it because when you're in sports and entertainment or fitness, that's the mecca. Yeah. It's like being in finance on Wall Street. Mm-hmm. Like that's the place to be. So I do miss it for that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I go back and forth, you know.
You can always travel out there for work.
It's true. I go back there probably every quarter just because of the shows that I have. And do you know Michael Hearn?
Sounds familiar.
He's a bodybuilder, influencer. He's like one of my closest friends. Mm-hmm. So I go back there. I work out with him every morning, and that's fun.
Yeah, you enjoy it.
I enjoy it.
So I'm going to spin you back because my ADHD got us off track. But so you got out of Wall Street.
Yep.
I want to fight. Moved to California, which is why you were out there.
Yep.
You turned pro.
Yes.
Tell us about that endeavor and the journey you had there.
Probably, I have a lot of chapters in my life. The thing about fighting is it's not the most successful chapter of your life, but it's the most glorious chapter of your life because like you're on like the big stage, you're fighting people, and people love that because most people would never get in a cage and fight another human. In all the years,
they don't want to fight at the park or in the backyard, let alone getting on a cage.
Exactly.
With X amount of people watching.
And it's scary. It's scary. It's literally. I've done a few things in my life. The scariest thing is getting in a cage and fighting another human. Just the build up.
Yeah.
Being in the back room, you're warming up. You're like, man, you're hitting mitts. Like your arms aren't working properly because you're adrenaline dump. You're walking out to the cage, your nerves are through the roof. Before you're fighting, it's like you're detoxing. You shit like 5-6 times because you're so nervous.
Yeah, your brain's telling you
flushing everything
your brain's
out.
telling you the worst case scenario, or
your body's preparing for war, like you're gonna die. And then you get in the cage and you're like, oh my God, how am I supposed to act right now? Am I supposed to be tough?
I've been training for this every day, but I don't know how to act.
I don't know how to act. And then, obviously, the the ref says fight. The cage door closes, the ref says fight. All those nerves go away as if you're jumping out of an airplane, skydiving.
Yeah.
And you feel so free. And that's the one thing that I miss. There's something about it because you can't replicate that feeling.
No.
There's no other feeling on the planet that can replicate getting into a cage and fighting somebody.
I'll put you on the quad and do 80 past some trees. I'll give you some freedom.
Yeah, that's probably true too.
Or put you in a helicopter.
Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying. That was
But,
like...
they say the itch. You always say you see all these fighters, and you're like, yo, just fucking retire already. Stop fighting.
They love it.
But the itch just doesn't go away. That feeling, that rush, win or lose, the rush remains the same.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're glorious, there's a whole nother feeling. But when you lose, you still want to feel that rush again.
How many fights did you do?
I had 9. I was 8-1.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you went overseas.
Went to Melbourne, Australia for my last fight.
And you said you lost, right?
I took an L. And I still play back that fight every single day in my life because it was one of those things where I went over there, I felt so confident. I was like, I'm going to smash this guy. He was a striker. I'm a wrestler. Every fight that I had, it was take somebody to the ground, pound, 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 rear naked choke, fight's over. And for him, I let my ego get in the way of, I'm going to strike with this guy. I want to show that I can knock somebody out, like Michael Chandler always does, who's a wrestler, who was my teammate in my fight camp at the time. And I shouldn't have done that. And I have a picture on my phone still where I'm throwing a left and he's throwing a right at the same exact time. And it shows my face like this, and he connected. In that moment, I don't remember anything. I remember, not that I remember anything, but what happened was I got hit, I backed up against the ropes, I'm like this, he threw an uppercut, and I dropped on all fours. And my nose is literally pouring blood for the first time. I'm in my corner, my coach is yelling at me, the ref is saying you improve your position, and Nick Patterson, who I fought, he's throwing punches, raining him down from behind. It sounds like gunshots going off in the back of my head. But adrenaline is such a powerful drug, you don't feel anything.
Yeah,
but it sounds like fireworks. Mm-hmm. And all I had to do was turn over and pull guard, get my composure back. But man, those like 5 to 7 seconds felt like eternity, and I just couldn't think straight. Like a deer caught headlights. Yeah. And before I knew it, the referee said, ding, 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 it's over. And that was it. Went back to my room, depressed as hell.
Upset with yourself.
Yeah, there's 3 of us Americans went over to Australia to fight. All 3 of us lost. I was the main event that night.
Now you guys really made shit look bad in America.
Yeah, I know. Which is what happens, because you never think, you always say, how come the hometown always has the advantage? Doesn't make any fucking sense. It's just me and you in the ring. It's just me and you on the field.
They're people, they're hyped. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Right? Why is home field advantage so big in the NFL?
Yeah, I never realized it until I was in the moment. And I still remember, bro, like, main event, I'm walking out. So in Australia at the time, cages weren't sanctioned yet. You still fought in a ring for MMA. I never fought in a ring in MMA. And I'm walking out to the ring, and the crowd is booing me, fuck America, and all this other shit. And I get in the ring, and all of a sudden he comes out. The crowd is so loud as the main event in Australia. The ring literally shook under my feet.
Yeah.
And then he gets in the ring, and he's looking at me, and I'm like, fuck.
This gets to you, yeah.
He had like this glimmer in his eye. There was no way he was losing. And it took me off my game a little bit. So the fight starts. It's pitter patter. I hit him like 3 leg kicks. And I threw that punch. He just waited for it because he's waiting for me to go for a takedown. Mm-hmm. And I threw a punch. I should have just took him the fuck down.
It's all right. Listen, you live and learn. Listen, Australia lost in the end. They gave up their guns.
True.
COVID there fucking completely locked down in their backyard.
You know what's so crazy about that is, so this dude, Nick.
So fuck Australia.
Who I fought, he was, when I tell you, forefront of fuck Australia and the vaccines, and I'm not shutting down my gym. He got arrested for it.
He was one of the guys in Australia?
Yep.
There was a couple guys that were like the big leaders in that.
He was one of them.
Was that years later?
Yes, that was end of 2014. So you're talking about 5 years later.
You guys stay in touch?
I haven't. I don't think he has social media anymore. Maybe he's in jail. I wonder.
Yeah, they probably locked him up from standing
Probably
up.
did. Australia was tough.
Yeah.
Like
I remember like
Canada.
people like peeping over the fence. I remember seeing like videos on social, like Australian cops. I'm like, dude, Americans would shoot those guys. Get out of my fucking yard.
Can't give up your guns.
Yeah, no, you can't.
It's over.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
We'll get into your political career and your political views in a minute.
Yeah.
Now I'm
Future
gonna
president, just so you guys know, you heard it here.
He's coming. Mayor of New Haven.
That's right.
I want to fast track your story a little bit more, but I want to make sure I emphasize some of the important things.
Yeah.
So, your body was broken down.
Yeah.
Not going to continue this fighting career.
Yeah.
You had focused a lot of attention around MMA. You obviously loved it. You still train to this day.
Yep.
And you said, you know, I really feel like we could bring a little bit more of a white collar, draw a little bit more of higher dollar ticket people
Yep.
to these types of events.
Yep.
And back then, a lot of people can agree, it was like, you know, the tap out crews and
Yep.
the crazy hillbillies and
Yep.
not
NASCAR, baby.
Yeah, NASCAR, right? It wasn't so much, you know, a higher dollar end ticket. Now Trump and everybody and the mother wants to be seen
Yeah.
at a UFC event. It wasn't like that back then.
Yep.
And you came up with this concept of, hey, what if I kind of set this up sort of like a wedding,
Yep.
where everybody's at a black tie event, but we're watching people beat the shit out of each other in the ring.
Yes.
Sounds absolutely amazing. I want to go.
Yeah.
Tell us a little about what
Think
was your
about it,
vision.
like I'm an 80s kid. So I grew up on movies like Bloodsport
Yeah.
and Lionheart.
Yep.
And there's always this prestige about that kind of fighting, but that never carried over to MMA. Boxing has had centuries and centuries of history and build-up to get to where we are, whereas MMA grew so fast in such a short period of time, so the crowd didn't evolve as fast with it. So the wealthier demographic, let's just say, would still go watch it pay-per-view, but they wouldn't go to one of these Indian reservations. And
Would
watch
you?
the
Let's say
original
you're a
shows.
guy that makes, you know, $5 million a year, and you're seeing all the crazy tap out guys on TV. You're like, I ain't going to fucking. They're all beating each other up.
No, absolutely not. So I said to myself, how can I make the sport better? How can I evolve it a little bit? So I said, let me make it more of a black tie gala, like white collar boxing, and make it an event, not just about MMA. MMA would just be the platform of entertainment for the night. So you come to my show, tickets are 500 to 1,000, 300 max. So you get the networking feel, because I mean, you know from networking, if you spend $500 on a ticket, everybody else spent $500 on a ticket, everyone is a viable candidate for business for you.
Yep.
It's a very exclusive crew.
It's good people in the room.
Exactly. It's
So my
much like a
event, my event
pre-vet.
tickets was $500.
What's that?
My event tickets were $500. Everybody told me do 100, do 50. I said no. If they don't want to buy it at 500, I don't want them there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I would rather do 100 people at 500 than 500 people at 100.
Yep.
You know, because then you really are able to build something together. So when you come to my event, you got the whole red carpet. Everyone from ESPN, Getty Images, Sports Illustrated would come. I would do 5 pro fights.
How did you put this all together? Like, you know, obviously you got in with, you know, the state and got licensed to do this stuff. But then, like, what inroads did you find into these other places to pull in ESPN and all these other people?
Yeah, so I'm going to give somebody credit right now. So my first 2 shows were in San Diego, California. That's where I built it. The first one was at Hard Rock Hotel, who never had an MMA ever, and that's like the hotel in San Diego. When I met with their GM, he said, man, I always wanted to have MMA here. This guy was Canadian too, big GSP fan. He said, I always wanted to have MMA here, but we would never bring the MMA crowd into our hotel.
Makes sense.
For me, that was like validation. So I pitched him. He said, wow, I love that idea. Let's do it. So I had the Hard Rock Hotel. I lost a good amount of money in the first show, like normal people
Happens.
do. You know, I'm like, I had this whole ballroom. I probably sold maybe 10 tables total. Took a fucking probably $50,000 loss, whatever. But
My
the
first
show
event was
itself
6
was
figures
great.
as well.
The logistics were good. CSAC was good. I learned a lot. Had another show again at the San Diego Sports Museum for the second one, which was actually profitable, which is amazing. And during that show, a woman came to it. Her name was Jackie Callan. They called her the first lady of boxing. So she was the manager for Thomas Hitman Hearns and James Toney, a bunch of boxing legends. And she came and she said, wow, this is amazing. Why don't you bring this to Los Angeles? And I'm like, okay, let's do it. She said, but if you're going to do it, we should honor somebody to get more people to come, like a draw.
Yeah, have it be like a charity.
Because most people aren't going to know these fighters. You have people that are coming and paying $500 a ticket, but they don't know even who the UFC champion is. So I said, okay. So I hired her, and she brought me to LA, introduced me to so many people. The first person was Freddie Roach, which is Manny Pacquiao's box trainer. He's like the good trainer of all.
Well connected.
What was that?
Well connected.
Very well connected. So she said, if you want to make a splash, we should honor somebody. So the first person was Freddie Roach. He was all about it. We raised money from Michael J. Fox's Parkinson Foundation because he has Parkinson's. And then we flew in Thomas Hitman Hearns as our host because she's like best friends with him. He lives in Detroit. She's from Detroit. That show was incredible. Like it went off with a hitch. We sold out. And that just kind of spiraled into, what do you think? The fourth show, we honored Tito Ortiz. And then the fifth show was Steven Seagal. And then it was Mel Gibson. We had Dolph Lundgren, Lou Ferrigno, Mickey Rourke, Shane Mosley, Ken Shamrock. So the who's who was coming to these shows. Like, holy shit. So then we said,
We're on to something.
Huh?
We're on to something.
We're on to something. Where publicists were calling me, and I'm like, well, we're done. We're sold out. And I said, well, let's bring it to the East Coast. New York City is the perfect place.
So coming back home.
Coming back home, Wall Street Central. I was going to have it at places on Wall Street. Oh my God. There's a venue on Wall Street. I can't think of the top of my head. I'm losing it. We're going to have it there. And COVID happened 6 months later while we were planning. I already met with the New York State Athletic Commission and it shut things down for almost 2 years. So we had one more show in LA since, and now we're working on having more. So hopefully in Connecticut is next.
How many total shows did you guys do?
We had 10.
That's great.
Yeah.
I like that concept.
I love it. I miss it a lot.
Throwing events is a lot. It's an adrenaline rush. It can be super frustrating, overwhelming.
Because they're also dealing with two issues. So I'm putting on an actual event like a wedding, right? Because you're eating dinner and filet. You know, it's set up like a gala. But on top of that, I also have a California State Athletic Commission I'm dealing with. So I have fighters, I have medicals, I have ambulance and paramedics.
It's two different operations almost.
Two completely different operations. So it's tough. And fighters are, as much as I love everyone, because I'm a fighter, most unreliable people on the planet.
Yeah.
You know, they're falling out of fights. They're not getting the medicals done. The day before, they're like, I'm not going to fight anymore. And for me, the difference between me and a big MMA league is I have 5 fights only, which is basically the same thing as a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Whereas most regional shows will have 10 to 15 fights.
Yeah.
So
only the main ones are on TV.
Yeah. So if I
main card.
If I have 5 fights only scheduled and one falls off and I have 4, that's a big wrench.
Scrambling to get somebody in there.
Now I got to scramble and pay somebody triple.
Yeah.
To fight.
Come save me.
Come save me, and they know that. So that's always the issue I always had.
Listen, man, I threw the events, not fighting stuff, but you know, kind of the business. It was really important for me to turn around and help the next guy or girl in line. And when you're trying to do something good, you know, no good deed goes unpunished.
True.
And you know, you're bringing in these influencers. You're wearing one of his shirts, Rob and Dana Bailey, which is they are two great people.
Yep.
They are who they say they are. They're very real. But there's a lot of fake ones out there too. And these people,
everywhere.
They think they're Mel Gibson. They think they're Donald Trump, and you know they want to come in when they want to come in, and they don't want to. You know, they're messing up your schedule. It's a very, very cumbersome, you know, thing to put together. So
especially in Los Angeles, I always say LA is a shark tank. Everyone's in LA to hustle and make a name for themselves in the sports and entertainment world. So if you're putting on something for sports and entertainment, all the sharks are out.
Yeah.
They want free tickets.
Yep.
They want to be on the red carpet. They want to be seen. So you have to fizzle out the good ones from the bad ones.
Yeah, get rid of the takers and find some quality people that want to help.
And there's way more takers than people who actually want to support you. Because everyone's on their own grind. Do you remember the show Ballers?
Yeah.
Omar Benson Miller.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the coaches, like tall black guy.
Yep.
He came to one of my shows. We were talking about Los Angeles, and he said, Steve, piece of advice. Everyone in LA is on their hustle, so don't take offense to anything when people try to take. You just got to kind of weasel through everybody.
Yeah.
Don't take it personally.
You got to keep the grass cut low.
Gotta keep the grass cut low. I like that.
Yeah. I got my zero turn fucking going all day, baby. Those are for the takers.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. I keep them weeded out because I think they're bad for culture, bad for ecosystems.
Yeah.
If we could both cross paths and do a deal and there's a very good benefit to somebody else that benefits from that,
Yep.
I'm game. Besides that, I don't need your money. I don't want it.
Yep.
I've always been a giver. I continue to give. So I don't understand the taker's mentality. And I get you're on your mission.
Yeah.
And I understand when you got blinders on and you're focused, but if most of those people realize that they get out of their selfishness, take a look at the macro picture and say, hey, where can I start getting involved and giving? They'd be surprised how quick that helps them track to where they want to go.
Facts.
I'm a kid that kicked out of high school and I got a $2.5 million house. I have big influencers that came to my event. I got this successful platform now. Like, who was Ryan Robbins? I was kicked out of Brick High School. I'm a nobody.
Yep.
I'm a nobody, right? But I gave and I got in the right circles and I continued to give and I still continue to give, which is why I get that blessing back.
Yep.
So again, that's a nice little nugget. We got to drop one of those bombs, right?
Yeah.
Little sound effect, owner. But it's, you got to give. It's like the greatest lesson ever is just give. So obviously you came back here.
Yep.
You said, hey, COVID's going on. I can't throw these shows.
Yep.
At what point did you decide to go into the gym world? Or was that your first move?
That was my first move. So social media is a funny thing. So I had a guy named Matt Ramos, full-time firefighter, had messaged me and said, hey, Steve, why don't you come down and work out with me one day? And he was in Milford, Connecticut. I'm like, okay, cool. So I went down, worked out with them. One of the best trainers I've ever been around. And I'm in there and I'm like, man, we could do A, B, and C and make this place better. And he said, you know something, Steve? I'm a full-time firefighter and my time is so limited, I can't be here all the time. So I said, well, maybe we should partner. So I spent like 30 grand. I remodeled the gym, like new turf, paint, murals, all that. And we became partners. And I just fell in love with it where, like some people who are fighters love to coach. Like Freddie Roach, amazing fighter. Never was a world champion per se, but became an amazing coach. And I'm that guy. Like I love training wrestlers. Mm-hmm. My son wrestles. So now I just train wrestlers, like elite wrestlers in Connecticut. We have a bunch of them.
That's great.
My son goes to a school called Tugman Wrestling, which Blair is a New Jersey guy. He wrestled for Lock Haven. Mm-hmm. I think that second in state or first in state, monster. And I came close with him because when I started training, he was at the same school as me in New Haven. And now my son goes there. So now I try to train all the wrestlers. So I love doing it. I understand wrestling.
Thank God you got a Jersey guy out there.
Yeah.
Someone show you how to wrestle.
Well, no, the thing is, the crazy part is Tugman Wrestling has the most state champions of any school in all of Connecticut. So he brought his philosophy to Connecticut to help grow the sport in Connecticut to the point, for example, one of his kids, William Henkel, who is now a senior at Blair Academy, which is in New Jersey, like the #1 wrestling prep school, just got a full ride to Penn State. And that's the #1 school in the country for wrestling.
Why'd he come to Jersey to wrestle?
What's that?
Why'd he come here to wrestle, not stay there?
Because the best wrestling is here.
You got monsters wrestling in Jersey. I don't know why it was ever birthed or what it was.
Wrestling in Jersey, Pennsylvania, like these two states.
Yeah.
Savages.
It's wild. I mean, it continues to take off. I mean, literally in Monmouth, Ocean County, and really Monmouth and Ocean County alone, there's like 5 or 6 big wrestling schools.
Yeah.
Young kids, 5, 6 years old, all the way up to high schoolers.
Monsters.
Yeah, beast. guys that are big state champs, and they've
Yep.
gone off to, Penn State,
Yep.
Northwestern,
Yep.
all of them. Yeah, it's definitely a wrestling state.
Yeah. It's
So
actually a good sports state, period.
Yeah.
You got good
Football
football,
as well. Yeah.
some good schools.
Tough people. They like to hit. They like contact.
This is true. This
They
is
like
true.
contact. You know.
I know.
So you got the gym. How did this whole sports complex come about, and kind of run us through that before we jump into the politics?
It's from having the gym. So my partner, Michael Massimino, hit me up. He's like, hey, Steve, like I want to come work out with you. I think he was vetting me the whole time. He came down, we would work out. I would train him like 3 days a week for like 6 months. And it felt like he was not interviewing me, but trying to understand the gym model. And then during that time, he said, Steve, hey, listen, I wanted to come see this property in Clinton, Connecticut. I want to build a sportsplex because I'm building this whole thing called the Station Community, which is about 300 residential units. So 1, 2, 3, 4 residential buildings. And in the center of it was a sportsplex, a 250,000 square foot sportsplex where 18 pickleball courts, 15,000 square foot gym, 40,000 square foot turf house, golf simulators, miniature golf, storefronts, blah, 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 blah.
They're building a lot of that stuff now. It's kind of incorporated into like a store.
Yeah, it's a
and
whole
residential.
What's the word? Live, work, sleep model. Mm-hmm. And so I went to go tour it. I said, well, this is beautiful. He said, you want to get involved? And I'm like, shit, yes. Not on the residential side, but just on the sportsplex. Cause
Don't twist my fingers.
Yeah. So we're 2.5 years into it. A lot of obviously red tape because the building that it was in is old Unilever building that was built in 1929 or 29. So there's a lot of issues you had to take care of that weren't up to code. Like we had to spend $2 million on environmental cleanup with the way I told you, the sewers.
Yeah.
So at every juncture, there's something new, but we're almost there.
Now, are you an investor there? Or
Yes.
are you overseeing the project
Yeah,
for the
both.
sports?
Both.
That's great.
Yep.
So what takes most of your time right now, obviously, besides being a dad and a husband?
Mayor campaign, baby, mayor campaign. I filed a month ago, and I'm all in. I'm all in.
When
So-
is that election?
In November of this year.
So give people who don't know what New Haven's like demographic is,
Yeah.
and landscape, and really what goes on there, what motivated you to get in the race.
Well, there's a lot of motivation. So I've always said the first person that can turn a blue city red will ignite this country on fire. There's not many cities that is possible, just based on numbers.
Based on
New Haven-
corruption?
What's that?
Based on corruption.
And that too. So New Haven is literally the epicenter of Connecticut. You know, it's where all the political influences, the media attention. Yale is there, Pfizer is there. We're the biotech hub of the entire region. But only 135,000 residents, 12,000 people voted in the last election for mayor. It's 8% of the population, which means there's a chance to swing enough votes to win. So that makes me motivated to take that city because nobody likes the current mayor. He's going to his 4th term. He's lost about 30% of his votes between his first term in 16 or 17 in comparison to now. And I think it can be done.
So you know in the state of New Jersey, you had the primary yesterday.
Yep, I saw that.
The turnout was a joke. And I'm like, where are all these people who
Yep.
hate how the state has been run?
Yep.
You're in a primary. You have Jack Ciattarelli as a Republican guy who's lost twice. Nice guy. I'm on his team Jack now. I hope he wins versus this lady Mickey, whatever her name is. She's a worse progressive than Murphy.
Yep.
And you look at the voter turnout, like the top 2 or 3 Democrats outnumbered the Republican that won on the Republican side.
Yep.
But still, overall, the turnout was a disgrace.
Yep.
Granted, it's a primary, but just in general, like people really don't vote. Obviously, this last
No,
national
they
election,
don't.
there was a lot more people out. Trump really, used social media.
Galvanized,
Yeah, he did a great job of getting people motivated. But in a mayor run, I can only imagine, right? I'm talking state level.
Yep.
Just as the mayor,
But I'll tell you what.
How many total registered voters are there?
60,000.
Yeah.
So I ran last year for state senate. Now, the guy I ran against, I ran because I'm big on term limits. This guy, who's our state senator, was elected in 1980, 20-something terms in office, like 76 or 70 years old.
Doesn't live in the state.
Can't even campaign because of his health.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, there's no way people are going to vote for this guy. So I'm going to run. And I ran, obviously still lost, because the area of state senate was New Haven and the most progressive part of the next town of Hamden. I'm like, this is crazy. People are still voting for this guy.
Jersey has the same situations.
So when I announced I was running for mayor, it was a completely different energy. Nobody knows who the state senators are. And you would think that they do, because this guy is also the Senate pro temp of the state. One of the most powerful guys in our state of Connecticut. But when I announced running for mayor, I've been nonstop. You realize the mayor of a city,
it does a lot,
is like, it's way up here. Like, people care about that stuff.
Well, he can make the most impact on their daily lives.
For sure. So in New Haven, like, we're ranked last in everything. Like, literally, we're last in education, 17% proficiency in English, 14 in math, 29-to-1 teacher-student ratio, 25% in poverty rate, second in taxes, number 1 in violent crime. We were the epicenter for the defund the police movement. Everything is wrong in New Haven. And the only common denominator is Democrats. We have 30 wards, so it means we have 30 aldermen. Every alderman is a Democrat. The whole Board of Ed is progressively Democrat. Both state senators are Democrat. All 6 state reps are Democrat. We haven't had Republican mayors since 1953, and we're a sanctuary city as well. And you're going to tell me you're going to blame Trump, Republicans for anything?
Yeah, they are.
Under a city that's only been controlled by Democrats?
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
There's no logic to it.
There's no logic.
Just like, I mean, we've seen it, LA, your home's burned down. That's Trump's fault, Yeah. We have the riots.
Yep.
It's Trump's fault. He sent the National Guard in. Everything's Trump's fault. Trump's fault. Like, not Gavin, not this loser who's been
Not
there.
Bass.
Yeah, not Bass. That mayor who's like, she's literally a Marxist. Like, go look at her history.
Yep.
And that's how a lot of the, I mean, obviously it's a larger scale, but if you shrink it down into the micro, that's what a lot of the country is made up of in these blue pockets.
Oh, for sure.
And it's extremely problematic. And I see these people, and like, I'm not even coming at it from a standpoint of like, I hate you or anything. Like, just get the fuck out. Like, you suck. You ran this place into the ground.
Yep.
You're a loser. You have no other way to make money besides backdoor deals. You're shady. You're not a good person. You have empty eyes when they look at you. You got to go.
Yeah.
You don't care about these kids dying on the street of fentanyl?
No.
What do you care about this migrant raping some girl? You don't care about any of this stuff?
No.
Are you that heartless? Are you that soulless?
Yep.
Right? And that's why I love what Trump's doing. Grab these guys out, right? There was a mother being arrested in front of her kids, and there was this thing circulated on social media. And what most people didn't realize, which has now been, verified, this lady was running money for a very high-level cartel for child sex trafficking. You guys think this lady's nice now? No, she needs to fucking go. No more playing games with extra empathy. Empathy is actually extremely toxic.
Yeah.
Tough people need to make tough decisions. And
Maryland, man.
places like yours needs people like you who are tough to step up and say, nah, fuck this.
Yeah. It's funny because I've met with a lot of people on the inside, from aldermen to people that have actually been appointed by the mayor, and they all have so many gripes because the city is run so wrong.
Yeah, it's just a joke.
Where it's a joke.
Yeah.
To the point where I had people saying, Steve, why could you just run as a Democrat and primary this guy? If you did, you'd win. And I say to myself, but I don't want to be a part of the Democratic machine who's failing, because if I do win as a Democrat, I'm not going to get anything done because I have to follow the machine, or otherwise they're going to vote me out. So I'd rather go in.
They're setting you up anyway.
Yeah.
They're setting you up to control you.
Yeah, I don't want to be controlled.
Yeah.
Things need to be disrupted. For example, if people hate Trump not just because he's so polarizing, he's just moving so fast.
Mm-hmm. And they can't keep up.
And they can't keep up, but we have $37 trillion
in debt.
deficit. Yeah. You're trying to tell me we don't have to do something radically different?
Fast?
That's a
I think
problem.
that's why him and Elon had beef. I think Elon said I can cut $1 trillion in X amount of time, and he didn't. Right? And I think that frustrated Trump on what he's trying to do with tariffs. And if you really understand the monetary system, like we can't cut enough money to make up for the debt. We actually have to grow out of it, which is why he's trying to cut these deals. He wants the Fed to lower interest rates so we can reduce our debt as a country. Most people don't realize we just kick the can down on every 2 years. We have this short-term debt, and our debt's at an all-time high. He wants to restructure that debt. And people are sitting there thinking like, this is a joke. No, it's a major issue. You want to see a worse situation in 2008, we're around the block if Trump's not able to get things done.
For sure. Yeah, like I said.
And it wouldn't be on him.
Yeah. Everything. Even with, you talked about illegal immigration a second ago. In 2016, Trump never needed ICE to do anything. We didn't have an illegal problem. In 2020, Biden thought it was smart to let 15 million illegals into our country.
That we know of.
So you're a numbers guy, I'm a numbers guy. In America, there's about 1.8 to 2 million people incarcerated, meaning they're in jail for committing crimes, whether it was a misdemeanor or they're on death row. That equates to 1% of our population. So if you're telling me Biden letting 15 million people, and 1% of those 15 million people, like Americans, are either committing misdemeanors or on the level of death row, like capital offenses, that's 150,000 people in our country that are potentially committing crimes.
And these are people...
You got to get them out.
They were literally let out of jails doing much more harsh crimes than misdemeanor. They literally left these places, and these countries said, the border's open, fuck it. Let's get them out of our jail, save us money, and send them to America. Along with Chinese spies, Russian spies, terrorists, and then. Not to mention, we have the largest child sex trafficking, business going on in the world are white middle-aged men in America, from what I'm told. Talking to the dude who runs the Underground Railroad, works with a bunch of guys I know out in Utah. That's disgusting. It needs to be stomped out. And it's almost like our government is in business with them. China's in business with them. China's with the cartel. So when a sanctuary city like New Haven, to bring it back to you guys, is allowing those people to have a safe haven, no pun intended, like that's got to be stopped. And it's got to be stopped on all levels.
I mean, we agree that an open border created more fentanyl, right? Across the border. So we're a sanctuary city of New Haven, and we're also ranked #1 in the state for fentanyl overdoses. You don't see the correlation between like South and New Haven?
Pretty easy.
And then...
Did you watch Cash's and Rogan's podcast the other day?
No.
He got real deep into China and the precursors, so setting up these pharma companies that make all the things necessary to create fentanyl. Super interesting stuff. You should have a listen, man. It's scary. There's a guy the other day, someone did coke at his house and whatever. I don't do that stuff. I've never done it in my life. And he's like, it's not so much that I'm mad at this guy doing it at my backyard party at all. He's like, but you did it in my bathroom and my kids brushed their teeth in there the next morning and there could be the smallest dose on the counter left and my kid dies because your shit was laced with fentanyl.
Truth.
It literally could be the tiniest speck. So I told you in Newark today, there was 30 people taken down. They said what they got from them in fentanyl is equivalent to kill 500,000 people in New Jersey.
That's crazy.
That's insane. From 30 people only. Like, I don't think it was some, like, truckload.
No.
It was, something they had stored in, a storefront or whatever. Like, that's scary, man.
This is why liberals I have a problem with. They live on this, like, mercy for the guilty, but that's cruelty for the innocent. Like, why are you more worried about this and not this?
Because they hate America. They've been trained to hate America. They're in a psychosis.
I mean, if tomorrow morning Trump said, you know something, we're going to take a lottery, we're just going to let 150,000 people in jail out free. Let's just see what happens. Would one person vote yes for that? I would hope fucking not. So
well, you know what they'd say? Well, he let out all the January 6ers.
They'll find something to say.
And honestly, that's the credit I give them. I mean, they stand in lockstep. They're corrupt as hell altogether. They have a monster machine when it comes to getting people out to the vote. And like, you're a new guy in politics.
Yep.
And just what happened here, Bill Spadia ran in New Jersey. He's a good guy. He has a radio station, been highly successful for many years, with a large portion of the state. His turnout was not good. I mean, he got outvoted 3-1 to a guy who already lost twice in the governor's race, right?
Yep.
Now, it's pretty simple. That guy and his consultants know what hotbeds and pockets, like if you had a heat map and you sat above it and go, all right, these people vote here, these people vote here, and then here how you could drill down further into the demographics of it. He don't have that. He's an inexperienced guy, right? The Democrats run such a meticulous machine on that side. And
they don't have to do as much work.
Yeah. Well, they already did it. It's already in place.
Yeah, well, they also control the cities where all the population is. They don't have to do as much work.
They control the delegates.
And that's where Republicans are soft. If you're a Republican right now and you want to hold this country down, you need good candidates to go into the cities and fight in the hornet's nest, win or lose. If every election in every major city you turn 2,000 new votes, that's how you hold the country.
Yep.
Not just going to my conservative places where my RTCs are, but nobody wants to do that. I'm willing to do that, and I actually love being in the hornet's nest.
Yeah.
The same way I think I told you inside, Trump went to the NEBJ in Chicago and got drilled hard. They attacked this guy viciously, but then Kamala comes on and they're like, oh, Kamala, we love you.
Yeah.
But Kamala wouldn't go to Joe Rogan's podcast or anyone that would
challenge her
or challenge her. And Trump did that, and I'm like, wow, this is what all Republicans have to do. And even Elon Musk has said it. He said, we gotta start using our PAC to fight in these cities because we don't have blue states. We only have blue cities. If you take out all the cities in these states, America's red.
Yeah, all day.
So if you know that, why aren't Republicans doing a better job at shifting the cities a little bit? Even if you don't win.
Do you know Scott Pressler?
Yeah, I know of him, absolutely. I don't know him personally, but he's amazing.
I had him on the podcast. So you know his get out and vote,
Well, he's one, I remember because he went viral for the whole veterans in San Francisco thing, where he was like, I don't understand illegals. We have homeless veterans here, and you care more about the illegals. And I'm like, yeah, he's right.
Yeah.
That was probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, he's blown up since. He's excellent at getting people out to vote, registering people.
Yep.
And he said it on the podcast. He's like, he helped Trump win in PA. He figured out how many votes Biden won by in PA.
Yep.
And he figured out who lacked that didn't vote. And it was with the Amish.
Oh, okay.
Now, I don't want to play identity politics, but I want to be real too. And I'm fucking real. Scott's a gay conservative.
Yep.
Long hair, talks about his hair. He's into looking good, right? And now he's going to talk to the Amish, right? If anybody should feel some type of way about going in and talking to the Amish to get them on board, it's that guy. He's in there getting his hands dirty, cleaning up house horse shit, milking cows. And guess what? He got those guys on horse and buggy to the fucking turnout, and he got exactly what he needed to help Trump win. And that's talking to what you're saying. Like, you got to get out in pockets that you don't want to go talk to and get those people on your team. Let them know you understand their problems. And I know that's uncomfortable, but it's important.
Yeah. So in New Haven, New Haven demographic is 30-30-30, meaning 30% white, 30% Hispanic, 30% black.
No more Giants?
They're in the white side. And then obviously you have Asian population downtown. But for me, like, my campaign is more like in the hood. Hispanic community, the black community. I started training at Get 'em Boy Boxing, which is like in the hood. I'm talking about like in the hood, where you're like looking around like, man, am I gonna get shot? Half the houses are boarded up. And this guy, Coach Solo, love him. He's a realist. And when I started training with him, I don't know if you do any combat sports, but after you train, you're sweating, you kind of just like chop it up on the edge, you kind of just like
you're
fuck around,
exhausted.
you bullshit, And I'm like, Coach, I said, do we have any like up and coming kids from New Haven that can make to the next level? Because there's not many professionals that have made it. We have one, Chad Dawson. He's like the local legend. He was a world champion, WBC, incredible guy. So I said to him, do we have any up and coming kids? He says, yeah, we have like 4 or 5 kids going to the Junior Olympics. And this is when it became personal. I was campaigning to win, but there was like never like a personal factor until this, because combat sports built me. And I said to him, who do we got? He said, I got 4 kids going to Junior Olympics. And I said, how much does it cost? No, I'm sorry. I said, how do you fund it? So, we do a bunch of fundraisers, and, whatever I don't raise, I gotta take an L myself and put it up. And I said, okay, well, how much does that cost? He said, about $5,000.
Each?
Total. So I said to him, wait a minute, so you're telling me you got 4 kids going to Junior Olympics from the hood that can represent the city of New Haven and inspire a whole community, and the city isn't like, hey, here's $5,000, go and do your thing? That's crazy, but you're gonna spend $100 million on 15 new electric buses? That's when it pissed me off, because when you're in the hood, or the jungle, I like to say, there's not many ways out. Mm-hmm. Fighting is one of them, and I understand that.
Sports,
and you know this. So the fact that the city isn't just giving you $5,000, which is just a stroke in the bucket.
It's crazy.
I'm like, this is crazy. You don't care about the inner city. You don't care about
But
the
almost
hood.
like, do you think is it strategically on purpose, man?
Sometimes I feel that way.
I really do. It's
because
like,
if I'm in Justin Elker, if I'm in his neighborhood in East Rock, which is a wealthy part of New Haven, the streets are pristine, there's no trash overflowing. Then I go to Get 'em Boy, I'm in the hood, and I'm talking to the corner boys on the bus stop. The trash is overflowing on the ground. So why isn't Public Works here, but it's over there? And that stuff doesn't make any sense to me, because they just don't care. They say they do, but they don't.
they don't care.
They don't. They never have. And I always say this, it's a very unpopular opinion, because people don't want their worldview
I like
to collapse.
unpopular opinions. Hit me with a good one.
The black community, because that's like my focus. I'm half black. My father's first generation from Trinidad. The black community was its absolute strongest before the civil rights movement. Before the civil rights movement, it was 2 parents in the home. Everyone went to church on Sunday. Black America fought so hard for education, they risked their lives to go to white schools. They spent all their money within the black community, no different than Jews did when they came over here. Men were entrepreneurial, women stayed home and took care of the fort. And then after civil rights, it's almost like we sold out and we just went backwards. We were on path to like winning like everybody else, but the civil rights just changed everything, where it's almost as if we needed validation from white people that we are equal. And it just changed everything. Now, obviously, then the crack epidemic happened, and the 90s crime bill with Joe Biden destroyed everything. But I think that if we didn't have the civil rights movement, I think we would have progressed much faster.
Yeah, and again, that's dirty politics.
Dirty politics.
Getting people involved. Right? What really happened with Martin Luther King too, right?
Yeah.
Like what really happened there? Who really was that guy? And then why was he, why did he disappear?
True.
Yeah, it's a really tough thing, and
nobody wants to hear it, because to me it's the truth. But for you to admit that's the truth, your whole worldview has to collapse.
It's hard for me as a white guy who grew up in a white neighborhood to really understand it and try to get somebody, and I have a ton of black friends.
Yeah.
But to have them think that I understand their way of life. I told you earlier, I had a conversation with my buddy Johans, amazing human being, and he was talking about it the other day, saying the racism being treated towards the Hispanics in LA. I'm like, dude, like that's not racism. They're like, they're criminals. They're going after. A lot of these people are affiliated with the cartels, sex trafficking, money laundering, all types of stuff. Yeah. Like, I know we all have empathy, and you want to say like you're ripping apart a home apart, but there's different things that went on there. Same thing in the black community. You have a lot of crime.
Yep.
You have a lot of children without their dads there. A lot of other stuff that like everybody wants to point blame on. Yep. Society or whoever they want to blame. Yep. And it's like, well, how do we set them up there? Like what happened there? And the black communities have been some of the most funded communities and cities in the country.
By far.
Big money. And you know whose pocket went to? Not that kid trying to go for that boxing in the
Nope.
Junior Olympics.
Nope.
It was to that oligarch. It was to that alderman.
Yep.
It was to that crooked mayor,
Yep.
right? Newark's no better. Chicago's no better. Chicago's a shithole.
Yeah.
And
It's harder to follow the money in a city. There's so many silos that it goes
it's money
through.
laundering, right?
It's true.
Look what they did with the US aid,
Yeah.
right? And it's hard to find it. These guys are very, very smart finance people. They play shell games.
Yeah.
They can run things through charities. You know, they say one of the biggest guys funding this is somebody who was a tech guy, sold his company for practically $1 billion, and then got embedded in Beijing. And he's like embedded with the Chinese, and he's funneling tens of millions of dollars right now to fund these, you know, riots that are definitely
crazy.
coordinated over in LA. And that is, say, on a larger scale, but shrink it down to the micro scale.
Yeah.
That's going on in all of these communities that are, and it's not just even the black communities, it's the Hispanic communities.
Yep.
It's white communities that are in poverty. And, you know, the politicians there get the most money, but it funnels to them and their buddies. It's legal money laundering.
Yep.
And that's what I think Doge and Elon was really trying to point out. And I think he did. But it's so deep.
It is
It
deep.
runs so deep.
But there's no reason for people to get upset with what Doge is doing. Like, for example, if you own a corporation and it's failing, and the CEO is failing the corporation, the board of directors fires the CEO, and they bring on a new CEO, what's the first thing the CEO does?
He's going
Every single time.
He's going after the P&L. He's looking at the cost.
Yeah, he's looking at that and he's firing everyone that he thinks that doesn't add value because that's where you cut the most fat.
Yeah.
No one has a problem with that. But all of a sudden now people do when it's on the macro scale.
Well, because it goes back to the empathy thing. Oh my God, you're cutting the condoms in Uganda. Or you're cutting like the trans studies on cats in like, I forget what country
Yeah.
that was, right? Where was
Yeah.
that? Like just the crazy things
It's
that they were
crazy.
spending money on. What type of lunatic
Yep.
even makes this up? And I almost think it's like a sicko game. They're not even doing that there. They just want to name it this shit because
Yep.
they're twisted.
Yep.
And I don't know what the solution is, but if someone like yourself can step up in New Haven and be someone who fights for the black community, and you also understand what everybody else wants over on the other side, you know, you could be that person that brings that city together and brings out that 60,000 votes
Yep.
and make change and be the first person to
It's
flip
only
a-
6,000 that's a difference between Republican and Democrat.
It is a lot, though. That's what I realized in these primaries. It is that 6,000 is a big difference. You got to find the right people that know how to help you go get those.
Yeah.
Pockets.
Because I don't have a primary. It's just general.
Oh, so it's just general. You just go right.
Yeah, I'm already the nominated candidate for the GOP.
Because no one's going to run for the GOP.
No.
Yeah.
No, so it's me versus him. So like I said, I think it can be done for sure. And people are very sick and tired of the way the machine's been working there. So we'll see if they'll actually change
I said
the
that about
vote,
New
though.
Jersey, but no one showed up yesterday.
You know, the only people that show for primaries are those who actually really are sophisticated. And a lot of people, unfortunately, will stay registered as a Democrat in a Democratic state so they can just focus on the Democratic primary. But then when the general comes, they'll go and they'll vote the Republican.
And people are busy, too. They're hustling to pay their bills, feed their kids,
Yeah.
take their kids to school, going to practice, got lacrosse, travel lacrosse,
True.
you know, gymnastics with your kid. They're super busy, so they're
Gotta
not.
be national holiday.
Yeah, like
The fact that
Give everybody
Election
off.
Day isn't a national holiday where it's like no one goes to work, everybody vote. I think that's the most important thing there is
Yeah.
in our country.
well, there's a reason they distract people, right?
It's also true. Which is
There's
sad.
a reason they distract people.
Which is sad. And everything's so hypocritical. You know, the same people that hate Doge are the same people in New Haven that there's a $17 million shortfall in our education are going to fire 130 teachers.
Yep.
Okay, well, why can't you take the money for somewhere else?
They're
You're
going to take
firing-
away recess. They're going to take away the paras.
You
It's
know?
happening here in Jersey as well, man.
Is it?
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's in our town. I pay $30,000 in taxes. You know, like you guys are gonna sit there like, where would your spending go wrong, right?
Yeah.
You know, what did you guys do? And I get it. You know, there's different things going on. They're cutting spending and
But
funding.
the price per kid, and I don't know how it is in Jersey, where you are here, but where we are, that's why I pulled my kid out of public education. We spend $21,000 per year per child. I pull him out.
Kelly, would you know what the number is?
I pull him out. Now he goes to Catholic school, which is way better, and I pay $8,000 per year. So wait a minute. So the city could give me $8,000. I could send him to Catholic school, and you can keep the difference.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's a big push. People in this country definitely want, school choice and.
School choice should be automatic.
Yeah, it should be very easy.
Simple math.
But again, you're taking away from the system. Do you know how much money that the NJEA funneled to the race, the national race and politics? The number was, Kelly, do you remember what the number was I shared the other day? I don't want to misquote it. It was extremely high. It was a big, big, big number that New Jersey's teachers union, which is corrupt as shit.
Of course.
Corrupt as shit.
Yep.
They gave some crazy amount of millions to political campaigns on the left.
I'm not surprised.
None on the right, on the left. And Jersey's school districts are also people that let teachers sexually harass or rape young minors.
Yep.
And they don't fire them, they allow them to just move on.
That's
they actually
union.
call it something. Oh, they moved on to the next district. I just saw again today. I think it was Raritan or something else, another teacher.
Yep.
Sexually molested a minor. Like, it's just like, and they're not
Unions
fired.
are tough.
It's,
I feel like you need unions for some things. But I'll give you an example. Like in New Haven, because I'm trying to build like an internal coalition of people already on the inside. And I've been doing that. And most of the people are from the private sector that were appointed now in the public sector. And I've always said, not to backtrack, but if we ever hold the public sector to private sector standards, the country would change overnight.
yeah.
Which is what we need to do. But the problem in the public sector is, and unions, is you can't just fire people. So for example, you have someone at 65 that should have retired. Now instead of retiring,
That smoke's getting you.
So instead of retiring, they stay in the system until they're 75 years old. They're making $150,000, $200,000 a year, and they're going to work with senioritis every day. When you have a whole slate of people below them waiting for their chance at the top to progress the city,
Yep.
that has to change. There has to be at least, maybe not fire people.
Yeah, I don't got to
at
wait for this
65.
6-year-old who doesn't do nothing to get out of his chair.
Yes.
Get him the fuck out of the way and
Or
let me go to work.
phase them out. So, okay, 65, if you don't retire, we're going to phase you out so you're preparing for when you're 70, you're gone.
But this is the other crazy part, and I've seen this. So the guy who was the BA in the school district
Yep.
is a BA part-time for 2 other school districts in New Jersey and has 3 pension. And then he retires early and he goes and works for the town
Yes.
as a BA.
Yes.
So now he's got another pension and benefits.
Yep.
And they're sucking 4 off the lane. If I know that in New Jersey, how much is that going on around the entire country?
Of course.
Like, who polices that, right? We need a Doge in every single town.
Everyone.
Everywhere.
Yep.
Listen, we've been rolling for a while. I wish you the best of luck in your campaign. Fireside America will help you however we can.
Yes.
Maybe I'll come up to New Haven and visit you guys, shoot some content.
Listen, I say this all the time. The first person that can flip a blue city will ignite this country on fire. And I really wish GOPs around the country would agree with that and say, you know something, you're right. Let's start flipping these cities little by little. And the first one that can do it, like I said, will ignite this whole country
I think
on
it's
fire.
capacity and money, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's
So
all
they
it
don't
is.
want to lose the stronghold they have because it's helping them still win.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. How do people find you on Instagram and socials?
So Instagram is my name, @Steve Orosco, and my website for donations and my background is steveorosco.com.
Awesome. Steve, I appreciate this. Is a good conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for coming out.
Let's get it.
Cheers.